webinar has to do with all the things that I described, but the most important part is not what I described, but how all these things exist in each one of us. So please remember that whatever we do together is just using a certain kind of understanding, maps, points of view, basically is not the territory. The territory, you are the territory. So you are the embodiment, the incarnation of the essential qualities, the presence of the superego, the holes, you know, the fixation. So it is very personal. So we use certain fundamental points of understanding, but then the real more adventurous part of the work is how we apply this to ourselves. So, for example, what does it mean? You know, like when Mandira was saying in the beginning, I was looking for joy and I was looking outside. You know, okay, this is something that we all do. So let's find out how come, no, we have this illusion that if I look outside and I can find the joy that I cannot find inside, you know. And this is a very personal question. It's a very personal part of the journey, and that's where sometimes there is resistance, because, you know, to deal with, okay, I don't find the joy there, but then I start looking inside and I start noticing that actually I create my own separation from the joy. That sometimes is difficult to swallow. You know, it's easy to give the responsibility to, oh, mom was a bitch and my boyfriend doesn't love me every single moment of his life, or and all this. So we can give the responsibility to everybody and everything, but then to really look how we keep reinforcing a certain kind of habitual pattern of self-betrayal, that's a different story. Because that's where we touch an existential pain, which we all know. That existential pain is the other side of the longing of being who you are. So they go together, and there is nothing that we can do because they cannot be separated. Now, this has to do with the content, but then the question is how we do the work. And the how has to do with the methodology. That, wait a second, that I want to switch off this air conditioning. I'm starting getting cold. 1 second. All right, that's better. So how actually we do the work? How do we deal with the disconnection with the essential qualities? How we recognize the presence of the superego? How we go into the holes? How we reconnect with our true nature, and so on. So the method. Now the method has certain kind of basics. The first one, which is absolutely obvious and simple, is seek truth and understanding. If you are not clear that you want to know the truth and you want to understand how the truth manifests, you will not find it. You might have it in front of your eyes, but if there isn't that clear intention of wanting to directly experience the truth and have an understanding, this will not happen. The veil of our delusion will keep staying there. So this has a lot to do with intention. And that's why we start the webinar with the white essence, which is the essence of will, which is the essence of intention, which is the essence of clarity, which is the essence of being with the feet on the ground. The spiritual journey is not a wishy-washy kind of a new age thing. Oh, the angels and the unicorns, and no, it's not that at all. The spiritual journey is a journey, and it needs commitment. It needs, which is the white essence. It needs solidity. It needs the intention to really go through whatever I need to go through to be myself and come back home. Now, of course, when we have tools, that is easier. So part of the journey is to get these skills, to get these tools, or recognize what we already have. So seek truth and understanding is the basic foundation of our methodology. What does it mean concretely? It means exploring. How do I seek the truth? We have a very simple tool, self-inquiry. Self-inquiry means I want to find the truth. I want to know the truth. I want to experience the truth of this or this or this, and especially the truth of myself. So our methodology is based on seeking truth and understanding through self-inquiry. And pretty much all of you, maybe not all of you, but I don't see everybody, but I know that most of you already are very familiar with inquiry, and yet inquiry is a very sharp tool, can become more and more and more precise. In fact, we call this kind of work high technology spirituality, because we use our intelligence and our presence like a laser. We are not chopping reality with a machete or with a knife. No, we are actually going into it. We really look, we really feel, we really experience. High-tech spirituality, which is the spirituality of the 21st century. It's not the spirituality of 3,000 years ago, even though it's the same. But the technology that we have in this moment, for example, all the tools that come from psychology and psychoanalysis and energy work and all this stuff didn't exist at the times of Buddha. Didn't exist 200 years ago. But everybody had experience of the inner judge because it existed already, but nobody knew exactly how did it work and what to do with it. In fact, for thousands or for hundreds and hundreds of years, the big inner judge was God. Now, God was like, oh, God makes rain. God is cutting my leg. God is making me poor. God, is killing my children. So God was the big superego, and that's a certain level of understanding in many centuries ago. For some people, it's still like that. They wake up in the morning and they go like, oh, I don't find love in my life. Okay, let me go to the church and put a candle and pray to God that I can find love, and maybe somebody also provides for me. Things like this, which are fine, but also they have a certain level of evolution. So when we look at the seeker, we are the seeker of this age, and we have an incredible amount of tools that we can use. And that's what this work is about, putting together so many different understanding and tools so that it becomes very, very, very wide net. The second element that is fundamental to this methodology is that we, to be able to do inquiry, we need to be present. If we are not present, we cannot find the truth. So the second foundation is practicing presence, learning, understanding experientially. How do I know when I'm present? What does it mean to be present? How do I support myself in being present? And the first thing that we learn is to be in the body. Because the body, for sure, is here in this moment. Our thinking can be somewhere else, our emotional body can be somewhere else, but our body, physical body, is right here. So when we say practicing presence as the foundation of our love for the truth, it means, okay, I want to be here. I'm not going to just sit here and listen and think about, oh, I'm going to go and have pizza, because you can do it, but you can need to be present. Oh, I'm thinking about going and having pizza. So in that case, you are present because you realize that you are thinking about something which is not happening right in this moment, for example. So presence is a capacity, is a quality, yeah? And is something that we can support and develop, and we evolve in our capacity to be present. So another aspect is being present. Now, when I'm present, one of the things that inevitably I realize is that there is a mechanism in each one of us that tries to take us away from presence, or in the past, or in the future. And that's our superego, our inner judge. So the third point is I need to be aware of how I become a victim of my inner judge. How I am taken by the inner judge for a trip. How I attach myself to my past, or how I create an illusory future that does not exist, is only fantasy. So that's the third point, awareness of the inner judge. And then the fourth point, which is possibly the most delightful and friendly space that we can recognize, is learning and experiencing our inner guidance. Recognize that there is an intelligence within us that continuously is giving us the opportunity to really experience truth directly, lovingly, completely. And the fact that we don't recognize it is only because the judge is very noisy. There is a lot of and this and that, and judgment and prejudices and opinions and ideas. And the guidance does not scream. Guidance does not tell us how we should be or should not be. Guidance only opens the vision and the experience of the truth in its objectivity. We can see what is there. We don't think. That's why the mystics are called seers, not thinkers. Because the truth is something that we see, not that we think. So guidance starts opening up as much as we inquire, as much as we let go of our dependency from the superego, as much as we practice presence, then little by little, guidance starts appearing. All this work, everything that I'm sharing with you, is born from guidance. Is not coming from personality. Is coming from guidance. Is coming from the fact that the individuals at some point, they were so present and so open, and suddenly they saw something and they recognized it as, oh, okay, this is the truth. The truth of compassion, the truth of strength, the truth of will, the truth of intention is not an idea, it's a vision, a seeing, an experience. That's guidance. So guidance, little by little, takes the place of the superego. The superego becomes like a very far away noise that can be useful and used in the survival of everyday life, but is not what guides our life. Absolutely not. Guidance is, and guidance is always here. We always are that. It's who we are. So that's another aspect that little by little starts becoming embodied and recognized. And then, there is this mixture of guidance and questioning and asking, and that's where everything becomes revelation. Understanding becomes revelation, becomes like the mystery is invited to reveal itself. And we start living in a very mysterious, where is this real unknown reality, because that's what the reality is. The real is completely mysterious, it's completely unknown, but it becomes known moment after moment after moment after moment after moment. But it's not knowledge, it's experience. Love is not a concept, it's not an idea. Beauty is not a concept, it's not an idea. Intelligence is not a concept, it's not an idea. It's a direct experience. And that direct experience is who you are, who we are, what reality is. So there is no separation, there is no need of concepts, there is no need of theories, there is no need of notion or information. It's immediate, straight, right in this moment. So this is the method. So when we approach each module, we really use this methodology. Like, for example, okay, how do I recognize my intention? And then we go into this inquiry and we start looking, okay, how do I recognize when there is intention, when there is no intention, when there is just effort, when there is stubbornness? What is the difference between having intention and being stubborn, for example? Things like this. And it's something that we explore. So self-inquiry. Okay. Let me see. I have some notes here. If there is anything that I need to add. How are we doing with time? I have no idea. What time is it, Siddhartha? In our part of the universe.
15 more minutes to go. So 7:45.
Okay. Now, this approach, this journey is as I said, has been the revelation to many different human beings and many different sources in ages and ages. And it's a kind of a alive body of understanding. But there are some fundamental sources in the way I present it. Yeah. So one source is what two Arab teachers created, I think about 40, 45 years ago. I don't know exactly the time. They were two young Kuwaiti from Kuwait who moved to America. And they lived mostly in Berkeley, but before also sometimes in other places. And they were spiritual seekers. And they basically started inquiring. And at some point, they felt that they needed to go to Iran and meet the Sufis. So they went to Iran, but the top, how to call them, the bosses, the chiefs, of the Sufi tradition, they are secret. They are not known unless you are initiated into Sufism and blah, 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 after a while. You know? So they were not. So they went to Iran and they started looking around and asking around, you know, and people would say, oh, go there and then go there and then go there and then go there. And it was like fucking frustration, like a good search has to be, you know. There is a lot of frustration involved. And then at some point, they managed to, for whatever reason, obviously was their path. They managed to arrive in a small village in the desert in Iran, and in a tent, and there were like 7 or 8 people lying down and smoking their you know, like the pipes and having a good time. And at some point, one of them gave them a transmission of the essential qualities, and basically took them for a few hours in a journey, in an inner journey of dissolution and rebirth. And they basically, and then said, okay, now go. Fuck off. You got your thing. You know, Sufis are like that. You know, they're not very sophisticated. Just say, come on, you got the transmission, now go and do whatever you need to do. So they went back to America, and they were both students of another very well-known Tibetan teachers, Tulku Rinpoche. So they were also studying with him meditation, and they had other kind of transmissions. And then they were also studying psychology and Freudian psychoanalysis. So they started kind of having all this inner melting of different understanding and approaches, you know, and they started creating what was then called the Diamond Approach, Almas, and the Diamond Logos, Faisal. They worked together for a few years, and then they decided that they were too unique, so they needed really their own space. Like, and each one of them went his own way. And I worked with Faisal for many years. And so there is Sufism, there is Tibetan mysticism, there is also Freudian classic psychology, plus the psychology of the evolution, childhood evolution, you know, Margaret Mead. So there is a lot of different inputs. Then for me, at some point, I personally felt the need to really explore how Osho was looking and approaching the question of essence. And I discovered that there was a lot of material that had to do with essence in many different books, you know, and it doesn't necessarily use the expression essence. In some books does, like it doesn't talk about the inner judge, and yet there are so many places where he is very precise, very clear, the techniques, how to do and how to work with it. So my personal direction was, on one level, to really see, integrate, you know, whatever I had learned with my understanding of Osho. And then in particular, I focused on 2 elements, which was the presence of the superego, because I felt that it is an amazing obstacle that very few approach directly. So I spent 25 years or more to really learn, teach, share about the superego. And the other thing was inquiry, because my personal passion has always been, since I can remember, to work with the koan, who am I, who is in, what is, so where it's basically all inquiry. So I put a lot of my own understanding and energy on this particular methodology. What does it mean to inquire, and what are all the different levels that you can inquire? What are the different technologies that we have about inquiry? And then another source which it has been for me, in the way I teach this work, has been also an American philosopher, which is called Ken Wilbur. And Ken Wilbur is basically an evolutionary philosopher. So he has been really looking at how we act in our day-to-day life through an unconscious grammar, which is based on evolution. So how we actually manifest in day-to-day life certain levels on the evolutionary scale, you know, and how that has to do with the kind of conditioning that we have received, but also the nation that we grew up, the religion we grew up in, the schools that we went, you know, the qualities and the intelligences that we develop or not develop, and so on. So there is also that part that has to do with understanding our movement in evolutionary in relation to the evolution of the species, which is fascinating, which is absolutely fascinating. And then there is also the Enneagram, which is another map. And and the Enneagram is mostly known because of Gurdjieff, because Gurdjieff was the first master that really used the Enneagram in the West. You know, the Enneagram, I mean, people say that comes from Babylon, so it's about 5,000 or 6,000 years old, you know, but Gurdjieff was the first that actually put it together as a particular map and really used it in the teaching. So there is a lot of different inputs, you know, and of course these are all maps. So the question is, what this map has to do with me? What this understanding has to do with me? How can I apply this particular understanding to my day-to-day life? Yeah, and that's where it becomes really interesting, but also really enriching, because it's not theoretical. You see, okay, I have a particular way of functioning because in the Enneagram, I fit with a certain particular kind of personality. So then I repeat certain patterns. And it's good to notice, okay, these are my patterns. And there is no judgment. I simply know that that pattern will pop up in certain situations. So I can see also how predictable I am in a way, you know, and that's very humbling, you know, because we think, oh my God, I'm such a big shot, and then we start noticing, okay, look, I'm so predictable, and of course, as I am predictable, everybody else is predictable. So we can start seeing, you know, also certain repetitions, because the fixations have to do with the personality. So. Yes. I don't have anything else to add, except the fact that this is going to be a long-term adventure, in the sense that if you have received the information of how we will develop, we will start with a first module on the white essence: intention, clarity, solidity, support, stability, and so on. And then after about 2 months and a half or something like that, there is going to be the red. Now, in between, that's where everything happens. So we are creating a support system, which most of you are already familiar because you have done other webinars, where you will receive material, stuff that you can read, and also inquiry, and that inquiry that you can do with other people. And then you can create also your own inquiries, you know, and then we will have also small inquiry days with the team. And then we will have also group sessions. So it's basically a process which will go on for months. Now, of course, how much you want to participate, that's completely up to you. You know? That's your responsibility, how deep you want to go, you know. I can tell you this, that one of the most important aspects of this work is that we start putting together a very clear understanding that every issue that happens in our life has to do with some sort of disconnection with our true nature. So we don't look anymore at issues, or what the mind loves to call problems, as something bad or something that we need to push away. We look at them as opportunities to find out, okay, if this manifests in this moment in my life, what it has to do with my true nature? How can I use this as a door to connect with my essential qualities? For example, before somebody was mentioning effort. Effort is what we call false will. Because we don't have a relation, a connection with the true will of being, we effort. It's a distortion. And as you are for sure aware, effort is one of the fundamental things in our day-to-day life. We keep efforting all the fucking time for everything. And we believe that no pain, no gain. Yes, we need to suffer. We need to work hard. We need to have problems to solve. We need to be involved with something to fight with, and so on. So we effort. Now, the question immediately arises, well, what happens, or what could happen if I stop efforting? And there we find, you know, the good Lao Tzu that says, easy is right. Wait a minute, this does not fit with my conditioning and my reality. If easy is right means I don't effort, but then if I don't effort, nothing gets done. And my children and my wife and my boss and my job, you know, so all this kind of stuff. So it's very concrete. Is not abstract work. It's going to take you to places where you're going to have to really look inside and notice what you do to yourself and to the people around you. Because as long as you do it to yourself, that's your problem. Also to the people around you. Yes. So, and it's good. So it's really about presence. It's really about, you know, taking responsibility and noticing that there is something different, very different, that is possible. So, my friends, I want to thank the team, my team, because it's composed by 3 precious individuals, you know, Vista and Ketan and Siddhartha, and they are pillars that really support me and support the work, and they are involved with the work, and they are lovers of the path and the work, and so I'm really blessed that they are here with me and with us. And then again, I want to thank you for being here and giving me the opportunity to share myself and share guidance and the beauty of being. So thanks to everybody, and I hope I see you. And yes, have a good, whatever it is, day after day or evening. Okay. And much love to all of you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Avikal.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Avikal.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.